Hey, welcome back, everybody. I got Scott Richmond on board this afternoon. How you doing, Scott?
Doing great.
So this is what we're trying to do here at Rams Up. There's a bunch of undrafted free agents the Rams signed, and I had Farbode on yesterday, a couple of episodes ago, to talk about three of them, and Scott's going to talk about a few others, and we just talk about the Rams in general. And maybe by the end of the week, we'll get Ian on, and at some point we'll have talked about every one of these undrafted free agents. There's a bunch of them, a lot of research to do, and a lot of information. Some of these guys, it's a little harder to come by, so you have to do a little bit more digging. Hey, before we kick this off, I wanted to
Mhm.
mention Joseph Noteboom has signed with the Ravens. And right now, and Scott and I talked about this already a little bit, right now, our backup tackles, according to our lads, are AJ Curry and Warren McClendon. And that concerns me. So maybe as we go through these undrafted free agents, we can kind of think about the depth chart. Keep the depth chart in mind. We'll talk about that as we go, and where some of these guys might have an opportunity to make the team. So, Note Boom, I had made the argument periodically that if we could get him back for the right money, it would make sense. And I took some heat for that, but be careful
Mhm.
what you wish for. The Ravens certainly are happy with him as a backup, and I would have been too, but maybe not at the money the Ravens had to pay him. So, Scott, we haven't talked to you at all about the Rams draft picks, and Ian and I have talked about them all quite a bit, as did Farbode and I. Are there any draft picks that you especially like you want to touch on real quickly?
Oh, I just thought that Josiah Stewart from Michigan and Jarquez Hunter, I thought were maybe the most probably the coolest ones for me as far as when the names were when they called them out on draft day. With the Rams losing Michael Hoyt, right? I just thought his position would be filled in by some of the guys on the depth chart already to be that third pass rusher. And I was hoping for a defensive line designated pass rush specialist, kind of like a guy from SMU that I like, Elijah Stewart, I
Roberts,
think.
was
I
it?
can't remember. Very good pass rush. Somebody who can come off the bench. When when our two defensive end starters, come out for a breather.
So more
But
of an interior pass rusher as
yeah, more
opposed
of an
to an
interior
edge.
pass rusher. But they went with Stewart, and already knowing that he had such um, a high percentage of pass rush win rate. And I heard thought about Michael Hoyt leaving. I go, oh yeah, he's going to step into that role of the third designated pass rush specialist in the cheetah packages when they go at all speed on long down and distance.
Do you think this
So
is a reflection of how the Rams feel about Brennan Jackson?
I'm not too sure. Um,
And Nick Hampton for that matter.
and for Nick, it might
Although,
be more of a indication of what they think in Nick Hampton as far as just a pure pass rusher. I think with Jackson, I think he can step into. I think he's more well rounded. He's probably not as good of a pass rusher, but he can step in if if one of our outside linebackers like Byron Young or our rookie of the year, defensive rookie of the year, Verse went down. He has enough strength to play every down as a run stopping end and or a pass
right,
rusher.
a guy
Um,
that can seal the edge a little bit better
he can
in the
seal
run
the
game.
edge. Yes, probably won't have as much pass rush juice, but even though he has a little bit more size like Hoyt, I think they see. I think they see Stewart as somebody they can plug in as a rookie, and they can still produce that same, that pass rush win rate, putting pressure on the quarterback. So
Okay, and
um,
then you really like the Jarquez Hunter selection as well.
Yeah. Um, One last note on Josiah Stewart. I don't think people realize, listening to the bootleg football, they got a chance to interview him and one of his coaches. And, as a senior, Josiah Stewart was one of the highest respected players on the team. He was literally the strongest pound for pound of anybody in the weight room. He
Wow.
was very highly very respected and very high motor, very competitive. Like I understand why the Rams drafted him just on those qualities.
Yeah, man, they seem to gravitate towards those guys. There's so many
Hmm.
guys on this roster, and that reminds me of and I had that discussion with the Eagles podcaster before the game, and a lot of these fans of other teams maybe not in tune with what the Rams have built culture-wise, just drafting these guys over and over again, the Kyron Williams, the Blake Corums, the Cooper Cups, these guys that are just dedicated, serious football players. And that counts for something. It really does. And
Hmm.
I think that it gives the Rams a competitive edge. Really does.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, Jarquez Hunter though, is a guy that Farbode really liked as well, and I think he's just a really unique guy in that, you know, on one hand you could characterize him as a power back, and you wouldn't be entirely wrong, but
Hmm.
he's also a breakaway change of pace back. He's a little bit of everything, right?
Yeah, he's the type that's going to give you a little bit more juice. If you wanted somebody that's coming off the bench to give you that change of pace, um, as a third down back, catching the ball or running the ball. Um, but he's also has that stout body where he could take on the whole workload if need be. So
Yeah, the
I
workhorse
think there'd
back.
be some. There could be some situations where if Kyron Williams, fumbles the ball near the start of the season and or comes up gimpy in a game, I mean, I could see Jarquez being able to take on his whole workload and
Yeah,
being
and
an RB1.
just to clarify, I'm not calling Jarquez Hunter a power back, but if you do some reading on him, the scouting reports his lower body strength is phenomenal, and
Mm-hmm.
he's known for getting those tough yards after contact. So at first glance, you look at his size and his speed, you'd never consider him to be a power back, but he has that
Mm-hmm.
ability to get the tough yards between the tackles. So he is, to me, a really unique back to have that combination of speed and that lower body strength to fight through tackles. And he's
Yes.
another guy with a really strong work ethic, known for his leadership ability and all that as well, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. While watching some of the YouTube videos on some of the reviews of the Rams draft, it's funny to see some experts talk about, well, looks like the Rams drafted another running back, seventh year in a row. And maybe is he going to sit behind Corum? What's he going to do? Why did just looks like another running back, and I have to get on there and type and say, "Hey guys, the coach has given you hints in the off season. Says he wants to diversify the offense. Says he'd like to see more big plays from his running backs." Um, you know, Hunter had 28 runs of 15 or plus more yards last season, and only RJ Harvey had more than him. So he's really going to grab the yards that Kyron Williams left on the table, so to speak.
Yeah, I remember you talking about that last year, that you're really concerned about the Rams offense in that regard. Now the problem is, and we have to trust in McVay. He's got to get these guys snaps.
Mm-hmm.
How many offensive weapons have we had, or guys that have shown potential, and then McVay just can't, isn't willing to give them their shot to leave guys out there for two or three series, whether it be wide receivers, tight ends, running back.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully he's willing to do that. And it's, and Kyron Williams, I understand the concern about the fumbles, but he's a tough guy to pull off the field.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So yeah, we'll have to see. I'm assuming Hunter will get a long look in the preseason. and Blake Corum as well, possibly. Where does that leave Blake Corum? We'll talk about that another day, though. But
Mhm.
the Rams, their running back room looking pretty strong right now. So yeah, let's move on to these undrafted free agents. There are a few guys here you wanted to talk about, um, and we'll get into. Well, here's a list, and I put stars next to the guys here. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, these are all the defensive undrafted free agents: Malik Dixon Williams, Bill Norton, Dejon Terry, Sean Dolak. We already talked about with Farbode, Jamil Muhammad, Josh Piercy, and Nate. Say the last name for me, Scott. Is it Valcarcel? Valcarcel.
Valcarcel, yes.
Valcarcel. Nate Valcarcel. So today we're going to talk about at least one of these guys, right?
Yeah.
Two of these guys on defense, and we'll get into why we're some of the guys Scott's not interested in talking about. Or do you want to address that right now? Who on this defensive list are you? Explain yourself, Scott. Who is it you're not excited
Um,
about talking
well,
about?
first of all, the outside linebackers, I don't see anything out of either that really brings anything to the table that really challenges what the Rams have as far as depth right now. So when we talked briefly about Nick Hampton and Brennan Jackson, I don't think either of these two guys really would be able to bring anything that would constitute supplanting them from the roster or moving them, knocking them down. They might be able to
Practice
make the
squad?
practice squad, but I don't really seeing them being able to crack the roster at all.
We're
Um,
talking about, by the way, we're talking about Jamil Muhammad out of USC and Josh Piercy out of Rice.
yes. And I guess let's talk about the first thing first is look at who they gave bonus money versus who they did not. They gave the linebacker Sean Dole at 25,000. Um, offensive tackle Trey Weddick got $20,000 bonus to sign. Wide receiver Mario Williams received $8,000, and Jamil Muhammad received $5,000 signing bonus. The edge from USC. So, with that said, um, let's see. Talking about we're on defenders. So
Tell me about Bill Norton. I
Bill
thought he was
Norton.
a guy, a big, go ahead.
I'll just say briefly why he's somebody that I don't think would probably make the rosters. He's played with three different schools. He started at Georgia. He played once. He played his junior year at Arizona, and then he played his senior
Right.
year at Texas. And he never really became a starter. He's only played part-time minutes, part-time snaps. Like for example, last season, his teammate, the starter that was signed by the 49ers, can't remember his name, nose tackle. The nose tackle had like over 600 defensive snaps, and Norton only had 240 over the whole season. So he's basically just a bench guy to go in. I mean, the only superlatives I could find on the internet about him was Kirby Smart when he was at Georgia said he was a hustler. He got in there and he played great special teams, and that was about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think he's known for his run stopping if he's known for anything. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the offensive list on offense. Ben Dooley out of Boise State. We are going to talk about him today. Trey
Yeah.
Weddig.
Mm-hmm.
Willie Lampkin is the guy we already talked about. Wyatt Bowles, offensive lineman. Running back Jordan Waters. Two tight
Mm-hmm.
ends, Anthony Torres and Mark Redman. And then
Yeah.
wide
Let's talk
receiver
about.
Brendan.
I'm sorry.
Go
I was
ahead.
gonna say. I cut you off. I apologize.
I'll just finish the list here. The three wide receivers, Brennan Presley, Mario Williams, and True Edwards. And you wanted to talk about Williams and touch on Edwards as well. So go ahead.
True. So I'd start with the tight ends again. Same thing as the edges. There wasn't anything out of these two that really show any athleticism or production or any physical traits that really look like they could compete with anything the Rams already have. Redmond did have a great season at, even though he played a senior season at Louisville, he had a good junior year at San Diego State.
Oh, okay.
Had some good production. But other than that, I think at this point he might be a better blocker than he is a receiver. And that might be the only thing he has going for him. And Torres, um, kind of a similar to our draft pick from Oregon, Ferguson. He's kind of just more of a tall receiver at this point. His blocking skills, just have no idea. I couldn't find any tape of him blocking. So nothing on those. The running back Waters from North Carolina State, he has decent tape. He played at both Duke and then transferred to North Carolina State. Typical upright runner. Nothing special. I don't see anything that would supplant anybody existing on the roster. On the offensive line, the only one that's really is a question mark to me is Willie Lampkin. I mean, I saw him pre-draft. I watched all the Senior Bowl practices, and he was just great for being an undersized guy. But I still have more questions than answers because of the way the last two seasons the Rams have gone to building a wall to protect Matthew Stafford from interior pressure, bull rushes, and so forth. I just don't see how his build is going to help in that, being only 5'11",
Yeah.
280, 285.
Yeah, for
And
those of you who missed Farbode and with the talk we had with him a couple episodes ago, Lampkin is 5'11", 280, as Scott said, and Lance Zierlein went off on just how awesome he is as a blocker despite the limitations, as best guard tape he has seen, but just concerned about the size. But man, I watched some film on him and talk about a guy that picks up extra blocks every play. He's something else to watch, a lot of fun to watch. But
mhm,
Rams have him in camp and they're going to try to make it work somehow. Maybe there's a way they could use him, but is
mhm.
he, is he going to count? Is he going to beat out? I mean, he'd probably have to beat out someone like Dylan McMahon or KT Leviston.
Yeah.
And so we'll see how it plays out. But
Mhm.
if and we'll have a show here really soon, our first 53-man roster prediction, and Lampkin is one of those guys that'll be on the bubble, in my opinion. But okay, go ahead. Anything to? We're going to talk about Ben Dooley extensively here in a second. He's one of the guys you wanted to talk about. And
Yes.
what about Trey Weddick? He's the guy they gave a bonus to get him into camp, right?
Correct. Yeah. I have less on him, but he was definitely somebody I think that's going to be able to make the roster.
Okay. Yeah, it's going to be. And now is Wedig? They call these guys offensive linemen, and like I said, man, I'm really concerned. If that my biggest concern right now is offensive tackle depth. Lampkin cannot play tackle. We know that.
Mhm.
Dooley, we'll talk about him in a minute. Can Wedig go outside and play left or right tackle? Or do you,
Probably right. His
yeah.
experience comes from playing right tackle at Indiana this past season. He is a
Okay.
transfer from Wisconsin, and
Oh
it's
no, not
not.
another Wisconsin offensive lineman.
Yeah, so he played his sophomore and junior years at Wisconsin, and he played both tackle and guard. So there were certain times of games where they moved him in from tackle to guard. Um,
Yeah.
so he does have the versatility, but he did play primarily right tackle at Indiana this past year when Indiana had that great
Well,
turnaround.
well, that's something in his favor because on this potential roster right now, I don't see a lot of guys that have that ability, and I don't care if our starters have flexibility. I want a great left tackle and a great right tackle, but the
Right.
backup guys, if they can, swing, guard, tackle, that allows you to carry perhaps one less offensive lineman. But
Hmm.
the trauma that we went through a few years ago, I think McVay has gone away from this, carrying 8 offensive linemen. I think we're leaning towards 9 at least this year. I hope
Mhm.
that's the case because the offensive line just has to work. So
Yeah.
let's get into these. Let's get into the guys you want to talk about. First guy I have here is Ben Dooley, offensive lineman out of Boise State, and I'm assuming you want to talk about these guys because you like them. Is that a
Yeah.
fair assumption?
Yeah. I like them, and um, I like them in combination with how they might stack up against the existing guys on the roster, the existing depth chart. Um, one of the things about Dooley, he played pretty much 4 years at Boise State, has had 38 starts. Um, pretty didn't miss many. He missed a couple of games as a junior, but he's very reliable about being available on the field and not hasn't suffered many injuries. Um, he is a former wrestler, so he does have a great sense of balance when battling with guys on the interior. He's versatile. He can play all interior three spots, both guard and center positions. Um, has great size. He's 6'5", 320.
Right.
So I mean, if you had to plug him in at center, I mean, he'd probably be our heaviest. He'd probably be the heaviest center we have, which
Oh
goes
yeah, by
with
far, yeah.
which goes in line with what McVay and Snead wanted as far as having centers that can really hold off the bull rush, have enough girth, so to speak.
Yeah, and that's what Bo
Holding
Limmer
their
had
own.
trouble with, I think.
Yeah. Um, talk in addition to being versatile, he's specialized in interior blocking schemes. They ran a lot of counters for Ashton Genty when he was there. One things he doesn't do is the outside wide zone blocking. That's not what he does. Him and his agent talked about, what does he do well? They matched it up with what the Rams do. And so when the Rams called, the Rams were one of the teams that they had hoped that he could go to so that his skills match up. He can really move in space in addition to the interior blocking, and um, he's good in the screen pass game. So one.
Yeah, so it looks like he'll be battling guys like Justin Dedich and Dylan McMahon and potentially Willie
Mhm.
Lampkin, guys like KT Leviston. We know nothing about KT
Exactly.
Leviston at this point,
Yeah, I
but
think
there's an
he would have a
opportunity
great
there.
chance of competing with both Leviston and Justin Diedick for one of those backup jobs. I think he's
Right.
more than enough has the experience and the tools to do it. One last thing about Dooley, when he came in as a freshman, Boise State was going into a game where they were down a defensive lineman. They lost another one during practice, and on Wednesday night, the coaching staff told him, "We need you to play defense this coming week."
Oh,
And he
nice.
stepped in. He stepped in, played defense, and I think recorded 2 tackles and 1 quarterback pressure um, in his
So
lone game
he's
playing defense.
yeah, it sounds like special teams potential there, perhaps.
Yeah, so he's the type of guy that he's willing to do whatever. He's a team player. He'll step in and do whatever you ask of him. He'll play tight end, even if you want him to.
Okay. 6'5", 320. That'd be some a really good size to add to the interior offensive lineman, probably as well, obviously as a backup.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to who do we got next here? I got someone lined up for you here. Mario Williams, the wide receiver out of Tulane. And what do I have on him? He's a smaller guy, right?
Yeah, he's smaller. He would be similar to who's our existing
Tutu Atwell, Tutu Atwell-ish.
no, he'd probably be more closer to where's my wide receivers? Xavier Smith, is that it?
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah, he would be similar. So you might say, well, is he faster than Xavier Smith? No, he's not. He's actually just a hair slower. But one thing I like about Mario, I think he's a more developed receiver and a more developed route runner compared to when Xavier came out. Mario did play against a little bit higher level competition than what Xavier did when he was in school. Um, Mario Mario Williams was very highly. He was one of the highest wide receiver rated, 4 to 5 star players coming out of high school. He went to Oklahoma. He had built a relationship with the now coach of the USC Trojans. Can't remember his name. And
Oh, you're putting me on the spot. Who is the USC coach right now? I'll have to look that
yeah,
up. I haven't been following the,
yeah.
oh God,
So he did.
Landon, what is his name?
Correct. So he has experience playing with the quarterback who's now with the Bears, the old USC quarterback.
Oh, right.
So he transferred from Oklahoma to USC when the head coach and the quarterback went there. I guess
Lincoln
he didn't get
Riley.
Lincoln Riley. That's it. So
Yes.
he didn't get as much playing time as he wanted. So he ended up for his senior year, he transferred to Tulane. I don't know whether he played full 2 years or just the one, but at Tulane, his PFF rating was almost 83 as a receiver. That's pretty outstanding. I think there was only 17 players with a higher receiving grade this past season than him. So he ran a 4.5 40. It's not for his size. That might be a little considered slow. And they say that his long speed it's good. It's not elite. He can still get deep on defenses, but his specialty is going to be short area quickness, and he has great agility. So he's the type of player you want to get the ball into his hands quickly and let him do what he does with the
Yeah,
ball.
that sounds like that's kind of how they used Xavier Williams when they dared use him. I don't know how
Yes.
many got just 2 or 3 touches all year, I feel like.
Yeah, so he'd probably be used a little bit different. He'd be the type that you'd probably have to scheme releases off the line of scrimmage because he doesn't have a lot of experience beating bigger cornerbacks. In case they play press coverage, he's going to have to probably be involved in those stacked formations where he gets a free release. He seems to excel in crossing routes from what I've seen on the tape. So he could be used in a good percentage of the Rams' existing plays. I just don't know how many of compared to all. Where if you compared him to Tutu Atwell, Tutu it can be used as the decoy on long routes to open up underneath coverage, or you can throw him the ball deep. He can get behind. Mario Williams, I don't think you could use him in that same example. He's probably gonna have to be schemed to get him ball on shorter routes. If you have a quick passing game, you're going to get the ball to him within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage, 5 yards of the line of scrimmage, and let him do his thing. So,
Okay, so the wide receiver group, it's going to be pretty competitive, obviously, but you got Xavier Smith, Mumpfield, the 7th round draft pick, and Mario Williams fighting for perhaps the last roster spot, depending on how many receivers they carry. So it's going to be pretty competitive. But again, there will be opportunities on the practice squad, which I
mm-hmm.
suspect is what, may be the best case scenario for Mario. But we'll
It
see.
could be because if you consider the other receiver there that I think has the opportunity to move up would be Drake Stoops.
Oh, okay. Another
But
coach's
he
son
did.
there.
Yeah, so Drake got caught, I think, with the
Right.
PEDs, and he's going to be not going to be able to play for two to 4 games, I think, at the start of the season. So, with that said, one of the reasons I like Mario Williams is that due to the depth chart, I mean, he would have an opportunity to get in there to that 6th or 7th spot and maybe start the
Right.
season as next man up off the practice squad.
Yeah, and then there's the other guy is Quintez Cephas, which we don't know much about him yet either.
Yeah.
Um, and then well, let's move on to I think we have another wide receiver up here. I think. No, we're going
Did
to
you want to
talk
cover
about.
Trey Weddick at all?
I do not have him on my list, but we can talk about him. Trey
I just
Weddick.
want to talk about him real quick as part of the offensive tackles. You're concerned about he's not going to be able to fill in as a left tackle, unfortunately. I think he provides. I think he has the skills and the experience to possibly come in and eventually be the replacement for Rob Heavenstein.
Oh yeah, okay.
He's 6'7", 319. Again, he had that full year's right tackle experience with Indiana's team that went to the playoffs. Rotational, he does have, again, from coming from Wisconsin, he has that experience of moving inside and playing a guard, which the Rams like. And in this past season, PFF had an overall grade of 83.5, which was pretty high. He had a 74 rating in pass coverage and 85 in run, which is much above average. So he is a very good run blocker.
Yeah, I didn't have him on the list, but he is a guy that I know that name, and I think he was expected to be drafted. And I'm sure he's disappointed he wasn't.
Yeah, and
But
then again with the Rams giving him that bonus, I think that shows how much confidence they have in him being able to make the roster.
yeah, and he is what do I got on him? Where'd he go? 6'7", 319 is what I have on Trey Wettig. So maybe actually a little tad on the light, a little lean for right tackle, 6'7", 319. But maybe the Rams get him to bulk up a little bit. Okay.
Yeah.
And another ex-Wisconsin Badger. It's really interesting how they just kind of gravitate towards the Rams. So we talked about Mario Williams. Before we go to our safety that we want to talk about, let's go to the other wide receiver. Not this guy. Where'd he go? True Edwards. Might as well stick to wide receiver since we.
We'll just
he's the
talk
son
about
of
him
Troy. Okay.
Yeah, because I think you may have covered him a little bit in the last video. So I think I'll just add he has great size to be an X receiver in the Rams offense. He's 6'3", just under 200 pounds from what I recall. Very reliable hands. Very good with the ball in his hands. If you watch his highlight tape, it can be frustrating because there was very poor quarterback play. You can tell that just about every other pass play shown in his highlight reel, he's having to go to the ground to dig the ball out of the dirt because the quarterback just can't get him the ball in stride. But the plays that he does catch the ball in stride, you can tell he's a natural athlete. So I just wanted to bring that up, that if you do watch highlight of Edwards, it doesn't do him justice because the ball is just he's not given many opportunities. So with an NFL quality quarterback throwing him the ball in spring practice and training camp, I think we're really going to be able to see what this guy can do, and pretty excited about it.
Yeah, one of the biggest wide receivers we'll have in camp, height-wise anyways. So let's get back to that safety. Nate Valcarcel. Nate Valcarcel, yes. Yeah, out of Northern Illinois. And 6'1", 192 is what I have on him. Tell me about Nate.
He's very durable. I don't think he missed any games in the last 2 seasons due to injury. Things I like about him, his 40 time doesn't really pop out at you. He just ran a 4.53 40, which can be pretty average. But if you look at his RAS, his relative athletic score, he had a 1.53 10-yard split. That's elite. That's like in the top 15, top 20% of players of that position. That tells you that he's very quick. Also, his agility, his 3-cone score was 6.93, and his short shuttle was 4.13. That means he has elite change of direction. Also, when you watch his tape, when they're playing zone coverage and he's facing the quarterback, he has great anticipation, anticipating the throws that are coming. His production was average, with about 3 interceptions and I think 8 pass breakups, but you can tell that combination of his anticipation and that quickness that he he shows in the testing, I think those are great traits that translate to the football field for a safety. So I think that I think with him coming in and being behind, starting training camp, let's see, looking at the depth chart, he would be behind.
I see him as they have him listed behind Kinchins and Tanner Ingle at the free
Yeah,
safety spot. This is according to our lads. Strong
correct.
safety, they have Cameron Curl backed up by Jalen McCullough.
Mm-hmm.
And the wild cards here is of course, Quentin Lake. Um, and it gets a little more complicated, if the Rams do sign Jalen Ramsey, which
Mm-hmm.
is, I don't know what the chances of that are. That could affect this depth chart in more than
Mm-hmm.
one way. Players going to be deployed in different ways. But I think what you're about to say is, hopefully, I'm not stealing your thunder. There's an opportunity here as a fifth safety, or fourth or fifth safety. Jalen McCullough, Tanner Ingle, if we're discounting Quentin Lake as a safety, anyways, and he's got a shot.
He does. If Quentin does stay at the star position, right now Tanner Engel is the depth behind Cameron Kitchens. And as much as I'm probably higher on Tanner Engel than a lot of people that really haven't followed him. But Tanner is a bit undersized. He's only like 5'10". I think Nate brings the preferable size to the position, and along with his quickness, I think he could probably overtake him in training camp
Yeah,
on the
and
depth chart.
Tanner Ingle, I don't think Tanner Ingle has been active in a regular season game, to my knowledge. Uh, Correct me if I'm
If
wrong.
so, it's maybe one or two, and he only played special teams. So
Right. And the
um,
wild card, the other wild card here is of course John Johnson, who I think what the Rams are doing, I'm just kind of guessing here, is the Rams get a look at some of these guys and then decide if they need to bring John Johnson aboard or not.
mhm.
I think John. By the way, with the signing of Noteboom, my information is that two Rams free agents remain out unsigned. That'd be John Johnson and lineman Connor McDermott. So maybe Johnson makes his way back to LA. Remains to be seen.
It could be.
But that would be bad news for Nate probably. But I think it's up for Nate. A guy like it's all these guys, if they have an opportunity to wow the coaching staff and give them an inkling of, hey, you know what, I can make this roster and I can help you guys out, and
Mhm.
they move on from a guy like John Johnson once and for all.
Yep. Agreed.
So, we got one more guy here to talk about, and that is now DeJoun Terry, the defensive lineman out of Oklahoma. Let me take a guess here. Let me take a guess. Is this a guy that you think will help solve the Rams' run stopping woes at 6'3", 330 out of Oklahoma?
Well, yes and no. I think they've already addressed it by signing Puna Ford and upgrading the linebackers. I think what he just does is provide great depth behind Puna Ford.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
That's essentially what I mean. Not as a
yeah.
starter, but you need a second line of defense, a rotational guy to help out if people get dinged up,
Uh,
especially.
that's true. Now, when you look at Tyler Davis, he's in there right now as the backup to Puna Ford. I see more of Tyler Davis as just a straight defensive tackle. Like, if you look at that depth chart, the Rams list the three up front guys as there's a defensive end, there's a nose tackle, and a defensive tackle. I
Right.
tend to see Tyler Davis kind of more of the defensive tackle, maybe defensive end. I see DeJoun Terry as a more true nose tackle. You could play him on either shoulder or straight up on the center. He's 6'3", 323, and a couple of YouTube channels I've checked out, a couple of the people reviewing film just said, this guy, you just can't move him in the running game. He is just he's just a rock in the middle. He's not going to give you much in pass rush. He can push the pocket sometimes, but you're probably not going to be leaving him in on obvious long down and distance plays. But for example, his PFF grade this past season, he received an 83.5 overall grade. That gives him an 85 grade in run defense, which is elite, and 74 versus the pass. So he wasn't a bad pass rusher, but I don't think the Rams would be utilizing him for that. So I would be really excited for him to overtake one of the other guys as the backup nose tackle.
Yeah, now I looking at the depth chart here, and the starters obviously Fisk, Ford, and Turner. And as you said, the defensive end position that may be. Again, I don't want to call it's a weak spot, relatively speaking, only, and that's Deshaun Johnson and then Laurel Murchison, who are fine players. And then I think we have a little bit more depth, potential depth, anyways, with Ty Hamilton. Well, let's start with the nose tackle, Tyler Davis, as you said, and then potentially Dejon Terry. And at the defensive tackle, backing up Kobe Turner, Ty Hamilton. And I know how you deploy these defensive linemen. There's a lot of different configurations they use, depending on the scheme they're going up against. What 5 technique, 3 technique, and so on and so forth.
Yes.
But I think ideally, and I don't know, and again, this is maybe a question for you or Ian, if Ty Hamilton or Tyler Davis can fulfill what they're calling here the defensive end role, and Dejon Terry slide in. In other words, carry your top 6 defensive linemen or 7, and if that is not Deshaun Johnson or Laurel Murchison and one of these other guys that bring the beef, so to speak. Yeah, I don't know. Just kind of thinking out loud here. I would prefer that the Rams had another beast like Terry on this roster aside from Puna Ford.
Yes, agreed.
So Deshaun Johnson, he's been hanging around though, Mr. Irrelevant. He's had a couple moments last year, and Laurel Murchison, of course, he had the 2 injuries last year, so we didn't hear his name called that much. Yeah. But pretty good group overall. I mean, we got, if you count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players, 6 of them returning, plus Ty Hamilton, 7, and then the undrafted Dejon Terry. Pretty good mix, pretty competitive group. It's going to be fun to watch.
Yes, I like a lot of these undrafted free agents.
And we'll get.
Go ahead.
No, that's fine. Go ahead. What are you going to say?
I was going to add a note regarding linebacker Sean Dolek.
Oh, right.
I wanted to add, you may have mentioned, I think, something in the past. I don't know if it was the most recent video where you may have said that Dolek was more of an overachiever, that maybe his testing was just average. I looked more into that, and it seemed like he tested out pretty well. His 40 time, he had been timed at 4.55, I believe, in the 40.
That's not bad for an inside linebacker.
Yeah, that's great speed. That's, I think, about 4.6, 4.65 is average for an inside linebacker. So 4.5 is faster. I'm trying to look for those other notes. He also, as far as agility, I'm big on linebackers being able to move side to side, lateral quickness, and the agility drills. The 3-cone and the short shuttle really showed that, and he was kind of elite in that 3-cone. He was 6.93 and a 4.22 short shuttle. So, and he was broad jump to. He was in the top 25 percentile in broad jumps. So he does have some explosiveness, and I'll just say, I'm just going to throw an opinion out there that I was excited for the Rams to get him. I was kind of blown away that they were able to get him, along with Pooh Paul. I think before the end of this next season, I think you may see Dolak and Paul playing side by side as the starting inside linebackers.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I think the consensus among Ram fans is he's going to make this team one way or another. And yeah, I'm surprised too. Out of Buffalo, and then of course the Buffalo Bills have Matt Milano there, who they
Mm-hmm.
drafted a few years back, and he's been
Yes.
compared to Milano. So the thinking is that he may gravitate towards the Bills, and I don't know if they made a play for him or not, but I suspect Dolak. Um, Reading the tea leaves here, recognize the Rams as a team that he could go make the roster, and
Yeah.
and that's why he's here. So yeah, it's going to be fun
Yeah.
to watch him play.
I could
Man, it was,
definitely, I could definitely see him displacing Nate Landman and Troy Reader on
oh
the depth
yeah,
chart easily.
right, right. Yeah, good stuff. I'm really excited about this draft haul and these some really promising undrafted free agents we brought in as well. And we haven't even talked about probably the biggest haul of the draft was that first round pick next year, which is going to be
Mm-hmm.
allow us, I assume, to go get a quarterback. And then Jalen Ramsey is still hanging out there. Maybe by the time
Yeah.
this video hits the street, we'll hear some news on that. I have a feeling it's going to take a little while for the Rams and Dolphins to figure it out. If that's going to happen, there's going to be other teams in the mix as well, and that's where the Rams are a little bit at a disadvantage. When they had Ramsey, I don't know if you heard the story. They had offers for him, and they basically let Ramsey pick where he wanted to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if the Dolphins are going to do that. They're going to probably take the best offer, but I'm sure maybe Ramsey will have a say in it.
Yeah.
But
I did have an opinion if I could throw that out really quick.
go ahead.
I, I am for a Ramsey trade, although I think I have to clarify that I don't think he's still an elite boundary cornerback. I don't think you want him running downfield, covering receivers in like a cover four situation without any safety help. I think I think some of the plays near in the playoff run where we won the Super Bowl, in fact, the very last play of the Super Bowl, you could
Right.
see where he gets caught peeking into the backfield and the receiver runs by him. And if Aaron Donald doesn't sack the quarterback, there's a chance the Bengals
Right.
score a touchdown in that last play.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I've read that some Miami Dolphins fans have noticed that too in him. So, if he was to come to the Rams, I'm bringing him in for his leadership. I'm bringing him in for his tenacity to be that
Right.
tiger, to kind of be the bully, the lead
Right.
bully on the defense. I want him to be the trash talker along with Verse
Jared
and
Verse.
Kobe
Right.
Turner.
The
And
swag.
I want him to play closer to the line of scrimmage. I hope the Rams play predominantly zone defense and let him play with his with him facing the action. Hopefully mix him in the star role and have him play a lot more close to the line of scrimmage. If they were
Yeah.
to do that, I think it would be a great addition. I just don't think you can count on him to be
Yeah.
an
That's a
elite
fair assessment.
cover corner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a fair assessment. And I don't disagree. He would give this defense some flexibility and some depth
Mm-hmm.
at the cornerback position. If you're not going to start him, at least you have a guy that you could run out there if you needed to.
Yeah.
Okay, Scott, good stuff. We will continue on getting through all these undrafted free agents. I think we've hit on like 8 of them now, and we'll press on eventually, touch on all of them. And hey, thanks a lot for your time. Really appreciate it.
Great. Thanks, Mark.
Okay, out here from Rams Up. See ya.